Assassin's Creed Shadows comes out who knows when. Nate and I are here talking about it once again. A game I didn't think I'd talk about anymore before it came out, but I find the marketing around this game fascinating. I don't think I've seen a game without, like, fake outrage, because I've seen fake outrage, launches before where it was, like, very obviously a ploy to push marketing. But I don't think I've seen a game with, like, real frustration around it in a long time like this game, on every side. The people who are excited for the game, the people who are neutral on the game, the people who hate the existence of this game. It just seems like everybody is frustrated, and it seems like Ubisoft especially has just done a poor job marketing the game. Like, even if you aren't offended by anything they've done, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm not. I think whether you are offended by it, or you're like, yeah, I just want to play a fun game, I think you can acknowledge the marketing has been a joke. It has been terrible. So I kind of want to look at those missteps today, Nate, with you. Let us know in the comments down below. I mean, you'll let us know anyways, but I guess that's my question of the day. Did any of the stuff they did around this game bother you? I guess there's one thing that bothered me, and there are a few things that I can see why they are very dumb looking. But I think the first thing to mention in general is when they made their statement in their official press release about this game, I always kind of glossed over this because I looked at it and I was like, okay, so this guy actually existed, but, like, very clearly they're going to make up their own story. Like when Ezio helped perfect coffee.
No, that actually happened.
You're right, I'm sorry. Like, very clearly they're just going to do their own story. But I think a lot of people took their words to heart, and maybe my problem is I don't when it comes to these companies. And they saw, when they said Naue or Naui, however you want to call it, because people call her both, and they said, and a real-life historical samurai, Yasuke, I just saw that as, oh, there's this guy, and he's a samurai. Yeah. I never really saw that statement, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a replacement for history books. Now I will know the true story of this guy. I just saw it, and I was like, oh, I've seen this guy depicted as a samurai in 50 different, fictional things before. I guess Ubisoft just decided to do that because they didn't want someone to compare their protagonist to Jin Sakai or whatever. Mm-hmm. They didn't want people to go like, hey, this Asian man here, very similar to Sekiro or very similar to Ghost of Tsushima. Like, to me, it seemed like they just wanted a gimmick to make their game stand out.
Take on all black people gimmicks.
Not all of them, no. But to me, it just seemed like they wanted to just do something different.
Yeah.
So they were just like, hey, we'll have a dual protagonist system again. You haven't seen that in a while. One of them will be kind of like a shinobi type, ninja character. One of them will be like a more tanky character. And that's all I saw it as. But I will say this. I can understand why maybe someone who never played Assassin's Creed before would see that and say, oh, they're trying to say this is like real history.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of their problems came from the fact that they tried to switch it up and be different. Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they were getting excited about Assassin's Creed Shadows, because a Japanese game has been in the minds of Assassin's Creed fans since literally AC1. Mm-hmm. So I think fans have had a lot of years to brew up ideas about this game.
Well, we even made a video about that. Remember when we took a look at the symbols all the way back in...
It was literally an AC1 at the end of the game.
On the floor at the end of the game after Warren leaves the room. And
there was actual things online of blog posts and stuff like that of people being like, oh, I think the next one will be a Japanese game.
Yeah, from 2008 or 9 or something. Right. It's very far back.
So I think people have had a long time to think about this series and think about a potential Japanese game, that when they finally released it, and it wasn't just a normal, Japanese samurai, they got upset. And to me, I don't really care either way. Mm-hmm. I just want to get that out there. Like, I don't really care either way, but it's like, how...
Tuck your white hood in, Nate.
Well, yeah. But it's like, you have to understand that I think a lot of people do really care about this.
Yeah.
And to them, it's like but wait a minute, we just wanted to play as a Japanese guy because we're playing as a game in Japan. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think you have to understand, if you're Ubisoft, that this would have been controversial. It's not that people are racist. There are some people that are. There are definitely people that are, and that's stupid. But it's not that everyone is. I think a lot of people were just like, it's a Japanese game set in the samurai period. Why can't we just play as a normal Japanese samurai? So to me, that already right there is a controversy.
Yeah.
Right from the start.
So you're saying already, like, from the fact that you waited so many years to follow up that setting, and then you decide, and then you had to look at the market and see other games that had already done that setting because you took so long, dragging your feet, that now you felt like you didn't want to just be the guy who copied them.
Right.
So now you
have to switch it up a little.
Yeah.
But then you have to understand that that's going to be controversial.
Which, by the way, I don't care.
Yeah, again, I don't care either way.
Well, and you want to know why I don't care?
It is a controversy.
This is kind of funny. I feel like I'm sidestepping it a little bit. When I look at these two characters, he could be a pure-blood Japanese man who is, totally Japanese. He's not black. He's just the skin color of the Japanese people. And I still would not want to play as him with this play style.
Yeah.
No. I'm not saying I won't try him, but I'm saying that when I look at him in Naoe, I think she looks way more like a classic assassin. And I play Assassin's Creed games for characters that, yes, can fight, but can definitely sneak around.
Yeah,
and plan out my moves and kind of hitman it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my favorite style for Assassin's Creed.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I love both, but these like stealth sections where you're sneaking around as like Ezio on top of some buildings and then you air assassinate someone, or where you're on an island as Edward and you're going up on, these ancient structures and then you're jumping down or climbing around, things like that. Those are my favorite parts of the game. So when they showed him, and this is just kind of to explain my position slightly, because we've talked about this a few times, the reason I've never cared is because if I want to play a just straight up samurai fighting game, I will go play Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
It has stealth in it, obviously, but like, to me, stealth and Assassin's Creed are very intertwined. And Yasuke already has been confirmed as not a stealth character.
Yeah, right.
Like, you can probably sneak up on some people, but he's not designed for it. So for me already, I was kind of like, whatever. But when they do use that language, I think that's what triggered a lot of people's like frustration. And it never did that for me. But I do think I can acknowledge that it did. And another thing that was frustrating to me to watch was Yves Guillemot, the CEO up there of Ubisoft. He did such a bad job of responding to it too, because instead of acknowledging that there were people who did not want to play it just because they don't like black people, and saying also that we should have phrased things, maybe somewhat differently, maybe we should, like look at this and say, okay, well, let's explain it. Instead of doing that, it seemed like his first response to it was basically just everyone's racist.
Yeah, and that's just going to trigger a lot of people, because it's like, no, that's not what this is about at all.
But there were
people that are,
and there were a lot of people,
and those people ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah, because they make it look like it's everybody.
Yes,
but it's really that's
not.
Probably a small percentage.
Yeah,
like what do you think? Out of 10 people, you get them in a room and they don't like how this game looks, maybe one of them's a legitimate racist.
I'd say probably one or two.
Yeah, and that's probably it.
But yeah,
those one or two people suck.
Yeah, but 8 or 9 of them are just like, I'm outraged because I wanted to play as like a Japanese samurai.
Right. And so and I think that Ubisoft already decided to be different and they couldn't explain what they were doing.
Yeah. And
then it got worse because later on, the Assassin's Creed Reddit, and this is right on, I guess, brand for neckbeard moderators on Reddit,
right,
decided to say, oh, this whole thing is that exacerbated, which I do think the situation was blown out of proportion as well, personally.
Yeah.
But they decided to, instead of just saying, hey, we think this is being blown out of proportion, something you and I said in a previous video, they said, by the way, if you want to disagree on it, leave.
Right.
I don't think we've ever said anything like that. Like, if you want to go back and watch our videos on this game, we've talked about how these things don't offend us. We've talked about how we don't really care. We've talked about how we've always seen Assassin's Creed as some historically inspired bullshit. Like, it's got real history in it, but a lot of it's also fake or manipulated or changed around. So this never bothered us. But even something we never said was, if you don't like it, leave. And they literally said, he was a samurai. If you disagree, you can do that somewhere else. And one thing that's really bad about this is this statement I saw being paraded around as if Ubisoft said it, because this is like a very, very big thing. Like, Reddit is huge, and this board is like 700,000 members.
Yeah.
So, like, you are in a position where you really are in a position of power, even if you're not being paid by that company, because what you say will reflect poorly on them.
Mm-hmm.
So then this got put on them too. This is one where I will argue maybe this is not super fair.
To Ubisoft specifically.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm standing up for that.
Right.
But it is something where it definitely then was like, you already had that first statement, which I never took literally, but I understand people did. And then you had this statement, which comes from a position that looks official.
Yeah.
And so that was also bad. And that was following up Yves Guillemot, you know, trying to dig a buzzword out and just being like, well, everyone's probably racist, you know, like kind of thing.
Right.
Like picking one out to throw at the dartboard.
Yeah.
So you had that. Then you also had the fact that they had to later go on after they couldn't, you know, they couldn't ignore it really. Mm-hmm. And they had to go on and do like a 4-page message explaining what Assassin's Creed was. You know, where they had to explain like, hey, it's actually fiction. Yeah. And go through all this stuff. And it's like, when you get to that point, like, yes, the internet will get mad about stuff for no reason. I totally agree. Like, that does happen all the time. But when you get to that point where you have to sit down and explain to people what your series is, I think there's a problem. Mm-hmm. You know, you've done a bad job with the marketing, because now you're in a position where you have to write a 4-page essay explaining what your series is.
Well, and especially when they had to market it as like an apology letter to Japanese people, which is what that 4-page thing was that you pointed out. It basically was, yeah, let's explain the series, but let's kind of get it in a way to apologize to Japanese people, because we understand that a lot of them are upset.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's also just not really a good look either. You know, because with these games, a lot of what these games are is basically, not that they're like a gift to this community, that's not what I'm saying, but it's like
You're lucky.
Right? But it's like a way for the people who live in this country or have connection to this country to get excited about seeing their thing up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, for example, if we played an Assassin's Creed game and it was set in, like, America, like we have some, you know, I get excited about that.
Right.
Why? You know, why? Because I'm seeing Boston, I'm seeing New York, and you kind of feel some connection with those. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of Japanese people finally got into the franchise with, like, oh, cool, finally a Japanese game. And then there was a lot of controversy surrounded it, and they ended up pissing people off, and, you know, a lot of issues came about. And they finally had to issue an apology for them, which is not a good look at all.
Which is too bad that you can't apologize, though. You know, like, I mean, from a company, it's usually fake.
Right.
But I do think that we've also hit a point on the internet where if you're wrong, you don't want to apologize. Like, almost ever.
Yeah, right.
I can't think of the last time I sincerely apologized to the internet. There have actually been times where I've thought, I shouldn't have said that. Mm-hmm. And you know why I don't almost ever apologize? Because I know people use it as a gotcha moment.
Right.
Like, you're not actually allowed to grow. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to apologize and say, whoops, I fucked up. Like, it's just like people will latch onto that more. So I feel like this statement made it worse. Mm-hmm. You know, like they got like 40,000 people liking it.
Yeah.
But like there were also a ton of people like, oh, now you're backtracking. Now, you know, this, that. Now you're, you know, and it's like, well, okay, so you are damned if you do, damned if you don't. And it was all from that first, you know, toss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I do think that if they had just said, hey, this is a fake game. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like inspired by real history and that's it. While I never took that statement that they made as literal, because I know they always change history, I also think that Japanese people have a different kind of connection to their history than some other countries do. Mm-hmm. If you and I see something inaccurate in Assassin's Creed 3, it does not offend us.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
Yeah, we might notice it and point it out, but we're not, like, angry.
No, but I've noticed that a lot of Japanese players are.
Yeah.
But then it gets kind of confusing because I've also seen so many games come out of Japan that are representative of other countries that, I don't want to be mean here, but they're the people making aren't always experts on, mm-hmm. that also don't represent that country well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a thing where it's like, I'm kind of torn on that one. I'm like, I get you care about your history, but then there's all these other games that have come from Japan that have been set in America or set in Europe or set wherever that are nothing like that country. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, you basically might as well have named the lead character Hamburger Man,
Right.
You know, like, look at someone like Bandit Keith in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
Like, who's supposed to be a representative of America. And he's like a guy with sunglasses who's huge and muscular, who has an American flag do-rag on his forehead.
Right.
And this is from an anime that came out of Japan.
Right.
Now, I know they're not claiming Bandit Keith is like the 12th president.
Right.
But I'm just saying, like, there have been a lot of things that have come out of that country also representing others that don't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess for me, this one is hard to understand that connection because while I care about my history, you know, I care about American history. I care about where my people came from in Ireland. I care about where my other side of the family mostly came from in Norway and Sweden. And I do care about that history. If that history was messed up in a game, I would maybe at most say, oh, it would have been cooler if these buildings were more like this.
Right.
Or, oh, it would have been cooler if they did this.
Yeah.
It would take a lot to make me mad.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there are things in this controversy I totally understand, though. You know, we're going to get to one where I think you, not to throw you under the bus here, you kind of felt like this was a little bit of a reach to be mad, which I understand.
Yeah.
For me, this was one where it's like, well, to me, this is not an iconic image. Like, so there was a collector Assassin's Creed Shadows figure.
From Pure Arts.
Yeah, of the two protagonists.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on top of a gate. You know, and this essentially it's essentially a shrine.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a very famous one-legged gate that is found in Nagasaki. And that is because, you know, the bombs went off, 60,000 people died. Now, you can have all these historical debates on that, because that always comes up, like, should that have happened? Should it have not? Well, okay, a lot of people died. And now you have that one-legged gate. It stands there as a historical monument. And now you have a toy coming out where they're like hanging out on the gate like, hey, yo, what up? We're on the one-legged gate now. And this doesn't bother me, but I have heard people describe this as if Japan made a game about America and they had their characters perched on one of the damaged twin towers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would be, like, the symbolism this would be. You know, if you're in Japan, you might be like, oh, yeah, that sucks. A lot of people died there. Or you might not even think of it. You might just think, oh, cool, like, smashed buildings. You know, like Godzilla-style, you know, destruction. Oh, this will look cool. That's kind of what I think happened here, is I think they just took something that they were like, what if we show, you know, that the country is, like, going through this division during this time and they're trying to, you know, unite, and you have all this stuff going on. But we use like this gate, and we show the gate is fractured to kind of do that. It's like, oh yeah, that's deep. And it's like, but it also took one Google search to find, hey, that image is like a similar idea to the fact that you have this split gate there.
Well, and I guess my thing with it too is, I look at
what
this,
I say makes sense.
It makes sense.
Okay.
But I'm saying from my point of view, I look at this and I go, I can see how it looks similar, but I don't think of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I just see it as like it's one side of a famous Japanese shrine. They probably didn't want to just take up the whole thing because that would be ginormous. So they cut it off.
Yeah.
You know, but with that being said, I can see how some people would look at this and go, why would you do that? So it's like, to me, this doesn't bother me, but I can see how it bothers some people. You know, that's just kind of where I'm at with it right there, where it's like, I can see the controversy. It just, I wouldn't think of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's not like it's a super obvious exact representation of that shrine that is in Nagasaki. It's just something that looks similar to it. That's kind of my thing. But either way, it is another controversy.
Yeah.
It's another blunder that they made that they probably should have, you know, done some more research on and realized, oh, okay, maybe we shouldn't do that.
Ubisoft, as an executive level, is lazy.
Yeah.
They very clearly are, because they've done a bad job marketing this. And by the way, final, you know, blunder here too, it had to get delayed. They had to remove the early access to it, which never should have been, but they promised it. They had to delay the game completely. Their stocks dipped something like 20% when that happened. And what else did they have to do?
Well, yeah, they also had to drop the price of the collector's edition by $50.
Yeah.
Because it was originally $279.95,
which is
in
outrageous.
US dollars.
And unfair.
That's insane, right?
So you have all these things, but I also kind of wonder if this will affect where they want to put games. Like, it seems to me like while there are people like me, and you're hearing Nate click around here, but while there are people like me who I don't eat up anything they make, but I always view it as fiction first.
Yeah.
You know, and then I see, was this accurate? You know, like whenever I experience something in Assassin's Creed, I see it as fiction first.
Mm-hmm.
I always have. And then I look and I say, is there anything accurate to this?
Yeah.
After. I'm kind of wondering if that is just the kind of people they want to market to, because it seems like they're not used to marketing to people who like take it personally.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's going to sound like belittling, but what I mean by that is like, I really do think Japan has like more of a connection to their history. Like they care more. You don't want to say they're like stuck in the past, but they do have like one way Japan has been described is like 1 foot in the past, 1 foot in the present and future.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you're always remaining grounded in that history while moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they're used to that. I think what Ubisoft is used to with their marketing is, oh yeah, these people think history's neat. And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's it entirely. Like, I don't think they're used to, like, having to vet what they're saying. I don't think they're used to people taking their corporate statements seriously. You know, for me, when Assassin's Creed games come out, it's, how does this play? Is the story good? Will I be interested in this? Okay, I'll pick it up. Or, okay, I'll wait a year and buy it for $15.
Well, and I think that's a fair question, is I don't think Ubisoft really understood this.
To be fair, I didn't either.
Yeah.
You know, I think
right.
I think that like the very first video we made, to me it was kind of like, this is really stupid that people are mad about this.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought it was really stupid. Now, I will say, I still think that people got way too worked up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think people were hitting the point where, like, their blood pressure was boiling, you know, and, like, they were just mad. And I think maybe Ubisoft is not worth that level of anger. But, like, to me, like, even at the beginning, like, you know, going through all this, it was like, I can't tell why people are mad. And then in the second time we talked about this, it's like, I can tell more why people are upset. I still think it's overblown, but I can tell. And I also think there were people, you know, drawing pictures of Yasuke as a monkey that were, like, trying to co-opt the movement
Mm-hmm.
and, like, turn it into that, too. But, like, I don't think they're used to dealing with this, really, at all.
Yeah, and I think what it just comes down to me, is Ubisoft, I think they're kind of dumb. Like I'm talking
Yeah.
like their intelligence level with their own products, to me, feels like they're just straight up dumb. Like, all they think about is just money.
Yeah.
Now, in the Western market, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In the Western market, because a lot of people in America and stuff like that, I'm going to be honest with you, they're also dumb. They're people that just eat up whatever is thrown in front of them, and they don't actually think about things.
And they don't want to think about
They don't
things.
want to
It's
think about
uncomfortable.
things, and their mindset is very much a insecure, always trying to get a one-up on people, always trying to prove that we're better than someone else kind of mindset. That's just what it is here in America, at least. I don't know about Europe or whatever, but at least here in America, that's everyone's mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone every day hops online and tries to figure out something to be angry about, so then they can grandstand themselves to appear better than other people.
So are you saying they're used to ignoring people who are upset? Like they're used to not getting legitimate upsetness?
I'm saying they're used to just, you know, maybe not right away in Ubisoft, because I think with Assassin's Creed 1, 2, Brotherhood, basically all the way up to like 4, I think Ubisoft genuinely cared about their product. Mm-hmm. They put a lot of time, they put a lot of effort in it. You could tell with starting with Unity that they kind of hit the point where they just were kind of thinking like money.
Yeah.
And then, you know, with the RPGs, you can tell they kind of wanted to switch it up a little bit because people weren't into it. So they wanted to say, oh, maybe let's try something new. And they put, you know, a little more time into it and so on.
And now we talked about like a new game every 6 months
right,
on average,
right.
I think.
So I guess my point is, I think the market they're used to is people in America that are insecure about themselves and they're consumers.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're not used to is the market in Japan, where games they're used to are I mean, not that they don't play American games, but I'm saying they're used to more Japanese-made games, stuff like
Mario, Pokemon.
Yeah, Stellar Blade.
That's South Korean, but yeah.
Okay,
still very popular
Asian,
with
sorry.
them.
Yes.
No, I'm just telling you, because someone in the,
yes,
you'd have
right.
Eve Liquor 32.
I apologize for that.
Eve Liquor 32, which I wish was me, actually.
Right.
Would be getting after you.
So I'm saying the people over in that market, they're used to companies that genuinely care about their products.
Yeah.
So to me, when you have Ubisoft trying to market to them, they have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
They don't care. They have no idea that, oh, people actually care about the quality of the product. Oh, people care about the historical accuracy of everything depicted in the product. Wow. This is surprising. And they don't know how to handle it.
I'm not trying to be an asshole, but do you kind of think there were a lot of Japanese people who didn't know what Assassin's Creed really was? So when this was finally coming out, and it was, and I don't mean they didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they hadn't really played it. So when this was coming out, it was like, oh, this is set in our homeland. Wait a minute,
right.
This isn't right. Do you think they had the idea that Assassin's Creed was more historical? Because for me, when I'm playing Mirage and I'm getting, like, Isu data discs and stuff locked in a vault, and then armor that does voice modulation on, the main character, I'm kind of thinking, oh, this isn't really accurate.
But you can recognize that Baghdad is accurate.
Yeah, parts are.
And the costumes and stuff like that are accurate.
Some of them.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying costumes of, like, characters in the world, not maybe, like, unlockable costumes.
Right, I know. I'm just saying, like, when we're playing it, I think we can... Don't you think we see it, though, as, like, fiction first, and then it's like, okay, what if this is?
Well, and I think that is pretty accurate, because I think, not that Japanese people don't play this or whatever, I'm sure there's a lot that did play Assassin's Creed, but you can even see this in, like, the baseball world, for example. The MLB signed a big Japanese pitcher, signed with the Dodgers, I mean.
Okay.
In the 2024 season, they went on to win the World Series. Millions of Japanese people became MLB fans. They showed, like, the marketing of it. It was millions of people were watching
because of this one player.
Because of that guy and the other Japanese player, Shohei Ohtani, that signed with the Dodgers. The Japanese market with the MLB skyrocketed because of those two players. So I think the same thing goes with the Assassin's Creed thing. Japanese players, a lot of them, saw that Shadows finally was getting set in the Japan world, and they thought, oh, cool, I want to play this. I want to play a game that's set in our world. This seems really fun. And then they got into this, and they were like, wait a minute here, what is all this? Oh, I thought Assassin's Creed was accurate. Oh, why is this building inaccurate? Why is that in there? Why is this not like a Japanese main character? Why is that not there? You know what I mean? And they pointed out all these controversies and inaccuracies.
It's difficult, too, because there are problems. Like, there are legitimate problems in Asia and America. And I know whenever you bring this up, people are like, don't speak for my country. Okay, well, everyone speaks for mine.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's fair to, like, look at the globe and say, hey, there's different problems in different places to different extents. Like, China has historically had a very bad relationship with black people. Like in the media, where it's like they are... I don't want
to... the Star Wars guy, what's his name?
John Boyega.
Yeah, John Boyega,
where Disney had to minimize him in the posters for China, because they were like, literally because Disney was basically like, oh yeah, Chinese people hate black people.
Right.
Maybe we shouldn't show them this guy.
Right.
Like, I mean, I'm not saying they said it word for word, but that's what their actions said.
Yeah, right.
And like, you see that all the time with marketing, like black characters will be cut out of promotions, or their scenes, might be like not promoted in trailers, things like that. And that's China. That's not Japan. That's important to note. But people are treated differently in different places, and people expect different things in different places depending on what they've been exposed to. I'm not going to know everything about a Pacific Islander who is native to those areas if I haven't been there and learned about it, right?
Right.
So if one is starring in, if there's a Pacific Islander starring in a new video game taking place in America, I might not know everything about that character. It's going to be foreign to me.
Yeah.
I think that maybe this was not the best time to introduce this character. Now, I'm not saying that he bothers me, but I do wonder if this would have gone over better if maybe he was in the second Japanese game.
Yeah.
Something like that. Where it's like you got your foot in the door. I think that unfortunately there are racist people in America and Japan and China and everywhere. And there are also people that are just, you know, thinking different things, that it's not about that. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense. Like,
yeah, it makes sense.
Both are true. Mm-hmm. Both can be true. I think when Ubisoft responded to the controversy, to me, that's where this became a big problem. I can look at Ubisoft statements all day, roll my eyes, and not care. I'm used to that. Mm-hmm. That's why it's been hard for me to empathize with people genuinely really livid. Because I'm used to Ubisoft statements being dumb. There are games they make I like. Some of them I'll buy used, some of them I'll buy on sale a year later. And there are games they make that I just completely pass on. Because I see them, like Activision, as a company I used to respect the work of, that now they're basically pumping out turds and every once in a while there's a diamond in there. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm used to that. I don't think the Japanese market was used to that when they look at a company like Ubisoft. I think they're used to some level of sincerity. And so Ubisoft bullshitting people, it works in the West, like you said, because they have that built-in audience. I don't think it works in Japan. But they still could have put their best foot forward and worded that way better. Mm-hmm. They still could have put their best foot forward and vetted the damn design of that toy. They still could have put their best foot forward and not offered that early access in the first place if they were going to have to delay the game and then take it away. And now people are celebrating the idea that Tencent might buy them. And I'm sitting here like, Tencent is a Chinese company that, honestly, is pretty beholden to the Chinese government. Think whatever you want on China. I don't care. You love them, you hate them. I don't care.
LeBron just entered the comments here.
What you think about their government. But their government is stricter than many on what is said and what is made. And their government usually has a hand near the companies that are the biggest. And Tencent is huge. And so when now you have essentially China talking about maybe buying Ubisoft, I don't know if that's necessarily going to make things better either. In like 1 or 2 days, their stock dropped 20% when they delayed right. AC Shadows. We wouldn't even be having these 10-cent discussions if they had done a better job with this marketing. Even if this came out and it's the best game ever, this was terrible marketing. I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah, the marketing on this is almost as bad as like the Fable marketing.
Peter Molyneux? Yeah. Did you watch my...
I did watch that.
If you guys want to see what Nate's talking about, I made a whole video on my other channel, JayRPG, where I got into the history of why the Fable series is held to such high standards. It's because they promised a lot and didn't do it.
Yeah, so it's like... It kind of ruins the experience for a lot of people. Because I guarantee a lot of people, when this comes out, they're going to buy it and they're going to think of all these controversies, and that's going to be on the back of their mind. Maybe it's not fair to the game, but it's still going to be on the back of their mind when they play and buy this game.
Yeah.
When it finally comes out. You know, and yeah, I think a lot of these problems just come back to Ubisoft just being dumb. There were fans of 1 through 4 that would have eaten up anything you pumped out if they hadn't pissed you off.
And it was good.
Like,
even just moderately good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'd be like, oh, yeah, I really want to play this game. Oh, there's people that really got into the series, but now they don't care about the new stuff. Why? Because you pissed them off. And you've never done a good job bringing them back. It just seems like Ubisoft they don't understand their products. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. They understand money. They don't understand what do fans want. I think they probably could have avoided a lot of these problems if they actually would have taken the time and the effort of trying to make, first of all, a good game, but second of all, actually try to make a good quality Japanese style game.
Or impression of
the community.
Even if you just stepped out and you just straight up said, hey, it's always been fake with historical elements.
I think that would, yeah, exactly. I think just right there from the start, obviously a lot of people would not have been fine with that, but I think there's a lot of people that would have been fine with that.
Yeah.
They would have been like, oh yeah, it is fake, whatever.
And I think that Ubisoft, they run their mouths. Mm-hmm. They're always trying to hype themselves up. Like, they literally think they're giving like a locker room pep talk at their press events. And it's like, no, just like rein it in, know what you're going to talk about, promote the game, and then move on and release the game.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
you know, you're causing your own problems.
I don't know, just as a final thought, I just kind of wish Ubisoft would take the time to care about their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for example, obviously I'm not, but let's just say I was in charge of Ubisoft. And I got the pitch of, oh, I want to make an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan.
Yeah.
Do you know what I would be doing?
You would be doing me, your Hotmail
I would
secretary.
be doing you, my Hotmail secretary.
Into you while you were signing papers. I was under the desk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I would be doing.
Yeah.
After that, during that,
Yep.
I would actually be bringing in historians. I'd be bringing in people from Japan. Now, maybe they did this. I don't know. I'm not there behind the scenes.
They say they did.
They say they did. But I'd be bringing in all these different people, and I'd be saying, okay, I want to make an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan. I want the game to be as historically accurate as possible. We need to, we need to make this a really good quality game that doesn't offend anyone. We just want it to be a good game set in Japan. And I would do my best to make that.
But you wouldn't be so safe that you're like, we can't step on any toes.
Well, exactly, yeah.
But you would be conscious of it.
I'd be conscious of it.
Yeah.
And my thing is, I don't feel like Ubisoft did that.
I don't feel like they're conscious of anything. And when's the last time they apologized to the Western audience for doing something dumb?
Right.
I can't remember it.
Yeah.
So
it's good. Yeah. I think, do you know what I think Ubisoft did? I think Ubisoft brought in like a couple of air quotes around historians
with blue hair
with blue hair from San Francisco, and they basically said, "Tell us about Japan people." And they were like, "Oh,
the girls are hot.
Japan people, yeah, they love black people." And they're like, "We got it," you know.
They're like,
and then
make the boobs bigger.
Right.
They're bigger in hentai. Make them bigger.
And I think I think that's kind of the direction they went.
Uh-huh.
I don't think they actually put in the time and the effort into making a good quality Japanese Assassin's Creed game. I think they put in the time and the effort to make I think they just brought in like a couple random people and just said, "Oh, there we go, we did our work." Like that's what it feels like to me.
So
I'm not there behind the scenes,
Yeah.
but I'm saying from all the controversies I've seen, that's what it feels like to me.
I do have a final question for you then. Like, what do you think about buying this game right away? Because you're like an Assassin's Creed mega fan. You've played all of them.
And I go back and forth on it. Like, I want to play the game. I'm excited about it, actually.
Yeah.
It looks fun.
You were just excited of the erasure of Asian men.
Yes, that's what I'm very excited about.
You were like, thank God.
Yeah, no, it's like, I'm going to play as Naue, either way.
Yeah.
That's just, she looks more fun to me.
And she's hot.
And she's hot. But yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth on it, because part of me says, yeah, I'll buy this game right away, because I want to play as Naue. It looks fun.
Yeah.
But another part of me is like, I just don't know if I want to support that bullcrap. And I am genuinely excited for it.
Do you think we backtracked on our opinion?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't really think so, no.
I think that we were never bothered by it, but I think that we were able to understand why people were better since the first time.
And I will say there are things about it that do bother me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not exactly like the person that's sitting around like, oh, I don't care at all.
Right.
Like, there are things that upset me about it. But
like
it's
now
not...
his ass being not quite big enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not to the point where I'm like so upset that I'm like putting my foot down and refusing to play the game. It's just stuff that is annoying.
Yeah.
But it's like, it still looks fun.
That's
I don't
kind
know
of where I am too.
It's like I go back and forth on it.
I think it looks fun. I don't know if I'd want to buy it at launch. I feel like I'd want to wait and see what people think.
Yeah, like wait a week or something.
Yeah, before I even think about it.
Yeah.
But also I'm in a position where I have so many other Assassin's Creed games.
Right.
Because I own all of them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I've got a lot I could play.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I guess long story short, we think this marketing was terrible.
Yeah.
So it just, and
one of the worst I've ever seen.
whether you care about it or not, it was bad. If you want to help support our channels, we actually play other games on our Let's Play channel, Degenerate Plays, which the link is in the description down below. That's somewhere we played through a lot of Assassin's Creed games. There's JayRPG, where we cover role-playing games. We've got Magical Jill, where we do anime videos. We have a Fortnite code, which I'll flash here. Unfortunately, not me flashing you, but maybe someday, maybe on like an exclusive website, we'll see. And also, we do have our own store, CosmoBunny.shop, where that same Fortnite code gets you 10% off your first purchase of coasters, keychains, trays, and more. made from recycled, repurposed comic book, manga, magazine paper from damaged books that were unable to be sold by local businesses and stuff around us. What we do is we take them, we transform that art into something new, make something new out of it for your home, make something new out of it to keep it out of landfills, and then we actually recycle the rest instead of it ending up in the trash. So we hope you'll check that out. Have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shui.